let's go to the next step, which is create the work breakdown structure. So we're done with scope planning, the scope management. We're done with collecting requirements. We're done with defining scope. Let's now create the work breakdown structure. And why is that? Because we now know what the parameters of the project are. If this is the parameters, now we know, okay, this is what exactly we are going to be doing. Okay? Now, with the work breakdown structure, let me first give a definition. It's a visual model generated and utilized by you as a project team, which breaks down project requirements into manageable work units. So para itong pag-create nyo ng DFD sa SAD, you have one big bubble, level 0, tapos magdi-decompose kayo. In this case, you are breaking down the whole project into smaller and smaller chunks. And the reason for these smaller chunks is that these are the smaller chunks that you were parcel out or give to your team members. You have to also remember that the work breakdown structure is agnostic, meaning it's not dependent to time and costs. So your main objective lang is to break it down into manageable workloads. Okay? So if you're looking at creating a house, okay, and that is your whole project, you have to break down, okay, I will create the house, the components would be the foundation, then the frame, then the interior, then the plumbing, okay? But if you say foundation, that foundation can still be broken down. If you say the frame, that can still be broken down, okay? And the pickup for your WBS should start from your major deliverables, high-level deliverables that was defined in your scope management document, okay? So because it's a visual model, okay, and it's based on the project deliverables, let me say something a little bit more about project deliverables. I touched it briefly in project scope, but this is the best place to define it. A project deliverable is an intangible or tangible product or service produced as a result of the project that is intended to be delivered to a customer. A deliverable could be a report, a document, an event, a software product, a server upgrade, or any building block of an overall project. So if you're thinking of, for example, your NISA ball, technically the ball itself is a deliverable. You deliver the ball. That's the main deliverable. But that ball, that NISA ball, has to be broken down into smaller components. So as an example, when we're starting to break it down, if your project is developing and implementing a CRM system in an organization, and the objectives would be standardize how the employees work with the clients of the company, reduce the expenses for some transactions, enhance client data authenticity, make sure that your deliverables hit these objectives. Okay, so what could be possible outputs of this project? First thing that comes to mind is really the CRM system. Okay, but the system, can the system standardize? Maybe yes. Can the system reduce expenses? Yes. Can the system enhance client data authenticity? Yes. But is that the only way to achieve that particular project? Because maybe from a business perspective, there are other documents, events that is needed when you're implementing already the CRM system. Take note, the more difficult component term there is implementing. Minsan dun lahat tayo nagkakagulo. When you say implement, how do you envision the implementation? Yun ang kailangan, yun ang minsan, from an IT perspective, I've been in lot of projects. The term implementation is the one that really gets my goat and say, ano ba talaga ang gusto mong gawin? Hindi lang development, programming, o ano pa? Sige, sabihin mo. Okay? So for this particular example, this could be other deliverables aside from the software product. The software product is the second one. But in order to also achieve these objectives, you might need to have policies and regulations describing how employees should work with a client. Okay? Take note, a CRM system. It doesn't mean IT system. It just means a CRM system. So the solution could even just be a process. And your software would just simply be something as simple as Excel, Access, or whatever. It doesn't have to be complex. Kasi baka iniisip nyo complex CRM system na kaagad. So when you sit down and you find out, ito pala yung deliverables, okay, I can create regulations, I can create the software. Yes, I have to have employees that are trained to work with that software product. And you also need a functional support service for the software users. Parang call center, frontliners. For some of you, I think you were part of the team of Ateneo Salt that helped faculty across Ateneo when they transitioned to Canvas. That's one of the deliverables that we had to have. Is there a support system in place? You just didn't know it because for most of you, you're just thinking of it as what? Your OJT. Pero on our part, that was a deliverable. We needed to have a support system in Moodle and in Canvas. So there were faculty people as support and there are student people. Kayo yun. Okay? So that's an example of a deliverable. And as I said in the previous slide, it's a visual representation. So how does it look like? It's a hierarchical breakdown. There's no standard approach when you break it down, not about how it looks like. There's a standard approach on how it looks like, but there's no standard approach in the breakdown. Let me just clarify that one. So if there are corporate conventions within the company on how the WBS looks in terms of template and structure, then please follow that because that's internal to the company. But you, like I said, you have to successively break down the project into smaller work packages. So how does it look like? Like this. We're in the highest level, which is 1.0 is the project. And then for the next one, which is 1.1, that's the major projects as system. This is the level 1. Then you have level 2, which is task 1, task 2, or sub-project 1, sub-project 2. Then you have 1.1.1, subtask 1, 1.1.1, work package 1, 1.1.1, then the activity. There's a rule, 5 levels down kayo. Pag sumobra na kayo sa 5, sobrang detalyado kayo, nagma-micromanage na kayo ng tao. Okay? Parang sinabi mo, if the activity, if what you need is just paper, you're not going to say, if what you want the person to is buy paper, you're not going to say, get outside of the building, drive yourself to National Bookstore, go to aisle 6, pick up the paper, pay, go back. You're not going to do that. You just say, buy paper, period. Tapos na yun. Okay? And you let the person do how he's going to do it. Okay? Now, this is one way. The project is 1. There are some na the project is 0, and then everything here is 1. Then the next major projects assistant is 2, then 3. Okay, so I'll show you one other look of that WBS later on. So I'd like to very quickly, I'll give you just 5 minutes for this one. On the chat, this card, nakita na ninyo yung sagot. Okay. Okay. In the chat, that more or less, I will place there a link to a Padlet, okay, which I will share to everyone. The instruction for that one is for a face-to-face IT training session, IT training. I'm pretty sure MISA has done a lot of this. How would your WBS look like? And what I'd like here would be, can you give me the high-level deliverables that you think you are going to deliver for this IT training session? High level lang tayo, ha? High level. So please go to your Padlet. I will share my screen. Okay. And I'll wait for people to put something here. Okay. So with for some of you, I think you've done Padlet already. All of you done Padlet with me. Okay. Just double click and I'll wait for some inputs from this one. I will not ask for the names. Just start typing there. So what would be your high level deliverables for a training session? Okay, training resources, whoever said that one, you're correct. Parang naubusan na kayo, yan lang yung naisip ng mga tao. Okay, someone's writing. Location, okay, I'm assuming there, whoever wrote that one, that's venue, okay. So, thank you. Yes, correct. Location and venue. I'll move this. Ano pa? Ano pa yung high level na output ninyo? Parang nawala na. Okay, sige. We'll work with this one. So if those two are the high level, then you're correct. Yes. Okay. Pero are those the only ones that you need when you're doing your load revision? So, okay, someone's going to add advertising. O, sige, ito yung mga advertising materials ninyo na pinopost sa, anong tawag mo dito? Sa Facebook, whoever wrote that one, just say yes there. So, totoo yan. Whoever wrote advertising, yes, part and parcel of advertising or in yung IT training ninyo na ginagawa ng NISA, pinopromote ninyo yan. So, you have a group of people working on your collateral, your Facebook post, your Facebook banner page, your videos. Kasama rin yun sa training. Baka kasama rin yun sa training session ninyo, di ba? So technically, yes, your advertisement. Whoever wrote that one, it's not a question mark. It's correct. Erin, you wasn't sure. No, you're correct. Okay, tama yan. Okay, pero kasi isipin nyo, ano bang ginagawa ng NISA? If you have a training, yes, you're worried about your training resources. Yes, you're worried about your location and venue. Ibig sabihin, hindi nyo kinoconsider na part ng project ninyo yung advertising. But you allocated people in your advertising team. Pinapagawa ninyo sila ng mga collateral sa Facebook. Pinapapost nyo sa social media. So it should be part of your deliverables also. Yes, it is. So don't say, and I'm assuring you, Erin, that it's sure. That is part of it. Okay? What else does MISA do in order to deliver that training session? Someone came in, one more. Need people who will teach, okay? Teachers, okay? So resource, in a sense, if that is separate from training resource and materials, and I think the definition of training resources here, whoever wrote that one would be, anong tawag mo dito? Would be the manuals, the computer, then that's there. Pag hindi kasama teachers there, then yes, separate itong teachers na yan. Okay, here's one recommendation that I have. Lesson plan. Very, yun, dumadami na lahat. Okay, sige. One thing about acquiring budget, and this is where already this work breakdown structure should start becoming clearer, is that when you create a work breakdown structure, there are two philosophies. Okay, one philosophy, which is the American philosophy, is you break it down by work, not sorry, you break it down by your items, by item siya. So if you're saying that you need to develop a registration system, you're breaking it down to its item components. Okay, so in this case, training, you break it down to teachers, advertising, location, training resources. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought or philosophy, which is the European method, is that you put down there the activities that you will be doing. So in other words, you will say here, instead of training resource materials, develop training resources materials. Look for location and value. Develop advertising materials. Look for teachers. Acquire budget. So those are two separate philosophies. Please just use one. Okay? Just choose one of them. Although the lowest level dito is the activities, and you'll see later on. So I will still accept acquiring budget, but instead of saying acquiring budget, I will just say budget allocation. It's the same. Whoever wrote it down, it's still the same. Okay? It's still the same, but in this case, I just made it into a noun and item. Whoever put lesson plan here, you're correct. That's training materials resources. So that's the second level of your WBS, because the lesson plan is part of the training resources. So what you have at this level already, guys, very rightly, are your level 0. Sorry, level 1. Okay, level 1. So ito ngayon, yung training resources would be 1.0. This is one way of writing it down, huh? 2.0, or using the breakdown, 2.0. This is 3.0. This is 4.0. And this is 5.0. Or, kung ang ginamit natin ay yun nandoon sa slide, this will be 1.1. This will be 1.2. This is 1.3. This is 1.4. And this is 1.5. Either way works, but for me, to be honest, mas gusto ko itong mga ito 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 para alam ko yung distinction. Okay? And my 0.0 would be the IT training. And this one, I will put at the top. Kasi ito yung pinaka level 0 natin kunwari sa SAD. Okay, so that's one way of laying it out, or ganyan na yan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so either way works. Okay. So whoever saw immediately my slide, thank you very much. Thumbs up, Austin, because ikaw yung nasa screen ko. Can you see my screen? Austin? Just a thumbs up. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. So how would it look like? I'll now present to you one potential answer. This is not the only answer, guys. There are other ways of breaking it down. But this is one potential breakdown. You have there your training materials, yung nakita nung iba, training materials, logistics, hiniwalay niya yung resources, yun sinabi ni Erin na advertising, and then I have the training admin management. Nakalimutan yung registration. Di ba may registration kayo? Wala yun dun sa list mo. Saan nyo ilalagay yung registration? But one thing I'd like to point out is my 1.0 is project management. Why? Because I also plan for all of the documents that I need to produce. Kailan ko ilalabas ang scope document ko? Kailan ko ilalabas yung WBS ko? Kailan ko ilalabas itong mga ito? So if this is my high level, and these are the things that are expected from your deliverables as stated in your project scope document, we now decompose it. You started it off, one of you started off by putting a lesson plan. If I'm going to break this down, this is how it will look like. So itong project management, I broke it down to the activities that you saw in module 1.8, if I'm not mistaken, where you have this matrix of process areas and stages of the project life cycle. So nandito sa left, yung inyong mga process process areas would be planning, scope management, project communication, risk management, and so on. So I can put all of that there. And then dito sa 2, ayan na yung training materials ko, workbooks, content. Pag break down ko yung logistics, that would be location, parking, computer equipment, presentation. Pag break down ko yung resources, that would be instructor, subject matter experts, course developer. Pag advertising, marketing collateral, advertising plan, advertising media. Pag training, admin management, I need to come up with a schedule. I need to have staffing support. Yung sino yung mag-a-assist sa mga tao and the registration. Now, this is a much more thorough work breakdown structure. Okay. And if you notice, it's not the same as what you made. It doesn't mean like I said before, WBS is agnostic to cost and time. And maybe your mindset will be different compared to this one. Okay. So I am just presenting here another presentation, possible solution or presentation of the activities that you will need to do. I saw someone write something in the chat. That may be a question. Oh, you can see the PowerPoint. Okay, so I will stop sharing muna and I'll share the PowerPoint again. Thank you. Sabi daw kasi ni Austin, kita niya. Okay, I'll go back to the previous slides. Okay, so this is where I started. For a face-to-face IT training session, how would your WBS look like? This is the high level. I included project management because I also want that to be part of the schedule that I will be doing. And I'm recognizing that it's part of the work that I need to do. So kailangan ko rin i-monitor siya. Then I have here the other high level, the training materials, logistics, resources, advertising, and training admin management. Okay. The next slide that I showed you, I showed the class Hope was this one. And I think for everyone else, not just to Hope who didn't see the slide, is that this is a further decomposition. When you went to your Padlet, when we started the Padlet, someone put lesson plan, and someone, whether that same person who put it or someone else, put lesson plan under training resources. That's correct, because the training plan is a subset of the training, may be considered part of the training resources. So here is a decomposition. Take note though that at this point in time, or at this level, may mga iba pa na pwede mo pang i-break down. Like maybe itong content, pwede mo pang breakdown, or itong computer equipment, yan, baka pwede mo pa yan i-break down. Okay? Yung marketing collateral, baka pwede pa yan. Bakit? Kasi meron kang Facebook, meron kang video, meron kang, may Facebook ka, may video ka, may flyers ka. Okay? So, if I can still decompose it at level 3, and I just chose 2, the training materials and the logistics. For the training materials, I just content the slides, which is the presentation deck, reference materials, yung mga additional things to read, and the handouts. Kasi they also involve a lot of work. And then computer equipment would be laptops, setting up the laptops, setting up the servers, setting up the network, setting up the printers. Okay? So, one of the questions that might be going to your mind is, sir, hanggang saan kami bababa? Rule of thumb, or how far are we going to break it down? Rule of thumb. If the work can already be done by one person within roughly a week or 2 weeks, then you can stop. And it's clear, you know that it's clear that for every part, it is a single deliverable. It is a single output. So pag sinamong computer equipment, at madami pa yan, it's better to break it down. Okay? So that's a rule of thumb. Okay? So the next slide will give you those roughly rule of thumbs. Ensure that each leg, and when you talk about leg, that's whole 1.1, this is one leg. This is one leg. This is one leg. This is another leg. Okay, so those two are legs. Kasi pag pinagsama-sama mo yan, mahaba na yan. Okay? So as you go through each leg, it contains deliverables that are unique from deliverables in another leg. Hindi kayo pwedeng mag-overlap ha. Pag may printer kayo on one side, tas may printer, wala isang beses mo lang makikita dapat yung printer. Okay, we don't want to repeat the same deliverable in each call. Never make assumptions that stakeholders will naturally know that the deliverable element is part of a project even if it is not included in the WBS. In other words, sulat na ninyo lahat. Huwag niyo sabihin na, alam mo naman na pag-advertising, kailangan may FB ka dyan, may video ka dyan. No, put it there. Why? Because you want clarity. Okay? And maybe that's some of the confusion that students have, you in your orgs have. Because inaakala mo na dapat pala kasama ito. Ay, hindi. Nakalimutan ko pala ito. So, the more you detail what's expected of you, the better. Okay? And you follow the 100% rule when drilling down through the levels of the WBS. Parang drill down rin yan ng yung SAT ha. The 100% rule states that every level of decomposition in the WBS must contain all of the deliverable elements which represent 100% of its parent deliverable. In other words lang, itong mga ito, all of this is 100% of this. And all of this is 100% of this. Parang ang gulo na ng screen ko. Wait lang. Let me erase all ink. That means that all of this is 100% of this, and all of this is the 100% of this. That's the 100% rule. Okay? Any questions with the creation of a WBS, guys? Okay, I'm conscious about the time. It's 10:46. I will end here. There's one more topic that we need to talk about. I'm not going to schedule what do you call this? Sync for that one because it's easy to understand already. Okay, I will put a Canvas lecture on this one. So the Canvas will further detail this one for more clarification. But at least my purpose for today would be to give you an overview of the more important aspects of the scope management process. So we're done with all four, which is plan, scope, document, gather requirements, create the scope document, and then work on the WBS. The last one is creating the RASI. Okay, so the RASI is your responsibility matrix. What are the responsibilities of each person in your team? Okay, and that one I will reserve for the Canvas discussion. Any questions? I will stop sharing and I will stop recording.